You have the perfect solution to a friend's problem. The facts are on your side and the logic is sound. But the moment you explain it, they cross their arms, shut down, and turn away. Despite our best intentions, offering direct advice frequently triggers a defensive reaction. Instead of reaching for the solution, the other person often pushes back. This happens because the human brain is wired to resist incoming data that contradicts its current emotional state or its internal model of how the world works. When someone is stuck, a logical argument isn't the solution. It is often the very thing that helps them reinforce the wall of resistance. NLP explains this friction through a simple concept. The map is not the territory. We don't experience reality directly, only a version of it that we've heavily edited. Before information reaches conscious awareness, it passes through filters, deleting, generalizing, and distorting the world to fit existing expectations. The conscious mind acts as a bouncer at the door, scrutinizing every word and rejecting any data that doesn't match its internal map. If the conscious mind is actively blocking our attempts to help or connect, how can we get our message through? To reach someone, we have to stop trying to force our way through the front door of direct logic and find a cognitive backdoor. NLP makes sense of this by dividing human cognition into two distinct entities, the conscious and the unconscious mind. The conscious mind is like the writer, the part of us that sets directions, uses literal language, and overanalyzes. The unconscious mind is the horse. It's the older, emotional center that does the heavy lifting and dictates our actions. This horse has a critical limitation. It does not process negatives or literal logic. If you tell it don't look down, it is forced to visualize looking down just to understand the command. The unconscious mind communicates through an entirely different set of rules. It operates on symbols, imagery, and emotional resonance. Because the unconscious horse drives our behavior, literal language often fails to move us. To create real change, we must learn to speak in symbols. This symbolic language is the metaphor. The word itself comes from a Greek root meaning to carry across. It is a bridge that bypasses the conscious filters. When you tell a story or use a figure of speech, the conscious bouncer gets distracted. It becomes overloaded by trying to process the literal narrative, which lowers its defenses. While the conscious mind is occupied, the unconscious is free to step in. It makes parallel connections between the story and the real problem, finding creative solutions without triggering a defensive alarm. This technique was mastered by the psychiatrist Milton Erickson. He used isometric metaphors, stories that secretly mirrored his patients' struggles, to help them find their own healing resources while distracted by the narrative. Metaphors are more than just poetic flourishes. They are functional devices for shaping how we perceive and experience our world. So how can you apply this technique in your daily life and workplace? It starts with a strategy called chunking sideways. Instead of fighting someone's perspective with facts, you step directly into the metaphor they are already using. If a colleague complains that a project is a nightmare, do not argue about the timeline or the budget. Instead, adopt their sleep-related language and ask, what part of this is keeping you awake? By adopting their exact symbolic language, you prevent their conscious bouncer from raising its defenses. You are validating their internal map rather than trying to overwrite it. This leads to a practice called symbolic modeling, treating someone's metaphorical descriptions as if they are completely literal objects. If someone says they are drowning in work or have a brick on their neck, ask them what kind of water they are in or what they would like to happen to that brick. This forces the brain to engage with the problem in a symbolic workspace. By describing how they would move that brick, the speaker's unconscious mind begins to identify actual real-world resources or boundary changes they had previously overlooked because they were too busy feeling defensive. When we step out of the rigid world of direct logic and into the fluid world of metaphor, we stop fighting the conscious mind. Taking people's words literally is a way to speak directly to the parts of the mind that drive behavior, turning stagnant resistance into active, creative dialogue.